Here we go. Matt Bischoff. Hello.
What is going on, dude?
We're recording now. We had way too much good stuff that we said before recording that I'm like, we gotta just go. Let's go.
Y- yes, sir.
So
Yes,
we're
sir.
in, we're recording. How are you today?
Uh, I'm good, man. My morning was a little bit somber. I literally got up, picked up my phone. The first thing I saw was my good friend Nate Wessel's Instagram post that Lou Bickle had died, and what a bummer, man. I mean, Fids died recently. Um, Lou Bickle, if you know, I know you don't watch a lot of old BMX videos, right? But all the old FBM videos were fucking awesome, dude. And Lou Bickle was a big part of that as a character. FBM was one of those brands that just brought fun to BMX, and Lou was a legend. And aside from bike riding, I mean, he was just a big, lovable guy, right? And you see him in these videos, this crazy big dude doing, jackass style stunts and so forth. But at the end of the day, I mean, Lou Bickle was a dad. He was a musician, and we loved a lot of the same music. I sing in like a stoner rock band called Moonbow, and he loved my band, and we both shared a love for this band called Caius. And so yeah, Lou is a friend of mine. Lou is great, and the fact that he's gone is sucky. So that was the bummer of today. But I also have to, just realize, man, as I get older, I'm 50 years old. Your friends, you start losing people, and it's part of life, and it sucks. But Lou will live on. If you've been on social media today and looked at everyone in BMX Instagram post of any pro out there, it's all mad props to Lou Bickle. So rest in peace. Rest in peace, Lou.
Rest in peace, Lou Bickle.
Hmm.
Yeah, man, that was a bummer of a thing to look at because that guy is like, if the word legend ever covered anybody's name in BMX, that definitely covers it for him.
Yes. And he will, like I said, he will live on. And the cool thing about the BMX videos, dude, is they will live on forever. Crandall posted some clips today, and everyone's posting clips from Albert Street, and it's cool. And that's what is so awesome about BMX is it will never die. It will live on in the memories of us that ride, and then also on the internet and YouTube and wherever else you can find that stuff. But if you haven't seen any of the old FBM videos, whoever's listening to this right now, go to YouTube or whatever, watch some of that shit because it was awesome.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And
Hmm.
I have a feeling over the next days, weeks, however it'll be, there'll be a lot more of that popping up on Instagram and maybe even some new stuff or something on YouTube that people don't know about.
Right, right on, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we recently kind of like actually talked and had conversation. I'm
Hmm.
sure we've crossed paths in the past, but this few weeks ago, I think is the first time we've really talked.
Yes.
And you were at Ray's, and you were stoked about it.
Mm.
And I was kind of wondering like what your connection was to that big group of people that was there.
Yeah. So in the 90s, well, actually late 80s, the Dirt Brothers was like a group of just San Diego dirtbag BMXers. And I would always watch the Dirt Bros videos. They had a video called Cheese, they had a video called Hicks in Action. And then Eddie Roman, who you met at Ray's, he did a video called Agroman. He did a video called Ride On and Head First. And I grew up watching all those videos, and I worshipped the Dirt Brothers, dude. I loved those guys. So Vic Murphy was kind of the main guy from the Dirt Brothers, and we've been friends forever because I ended up getting on the Dirt Brothers team, which was like a dream come true in the early 2000s. Kind of Dirt Brothers kind of went away for a little bit, then they made a resurgence as a bike company. They made frames and stuff like that, and I became part of the Dirt Brothers. So that was like a bucket list dream come true. So Vic Murphy used to live in San Diego, California. he just recently moved to Tennessee. So he called me up recently and was like, yo, dude, I got a bunch of people going to Raise. Eddie Roman's coming. We got an Airbnb. You should come and hang out and ride. I got invited last year and something came up. So I said, I'm not missing it. So I took my 18-year-old son with me, his first time to Raise. But that's it was Vic Murphy's kind of heading up this group of guys. And a lot of the guys that I was there at this Airbnb with and at Raise were part of Vic does a lot of bike shows all over the world called Stunt Dudes or Action Sports Outreach. He does a lot of evangelism and stuff like that. And he goes over all these different countries and preaches the gospel of Jesus to whoever wants to hear it. And so those guys were a lot of the people that will do shows and stuff with him and part of that group. So I met a lot of new people, and Patty Gross was there.
Yep.
And Patty reminded me that we were on Snafu together at the same time, also back in probably the early 2000s. He busted out a full page ad where he says, there's my name, Matt, and there's your name. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's badass. But that's kind of how the Raise trip was, is my good friend Vic Murphy from the Dirt Brothers invited me to go.
Gotcha. What a guy Patty Gross is.
Dude, I never hung out with him. Sweetheart,
yes.
Shredder,
yes.
Dialed rider.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that was a treat. He's unbelievable. So it was a fun time riding with him.
I'm convinced that Patty Gross might be a vampire. That dude seems like he just is going to live forever and just never digress or degress at all in his riding.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of that tech stuff on lockdown, the front brake stuff. And so watching him ride that street spine was really cool. Me and Vic were talking, because I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Miron and the riding of Jay Miron, the level of amazing rider, one of my favorite riders of all time. And before we went, he's like, dude, Patty Gross is coming. And Patty Gross actually beat Jay Miron in a mini ramp competition years and years ago. So if you beat Jay Miron in a mini ramp contest in Jay Miron's prime, that's a pretty big honor.
That's a big deal.
I know. So yeah, Patty rules, dude. We had a great time. It was awesome.
Yeah, seriously, one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Yep, I would have to agree. So yeah, it is killer, man.
Hell yeah. The last time you had been to Raise before that was years, right?
Yes, I think it was 2013, I believe. So I was on a reality TV show called Survivor.
I haven't heard of that.
And after I got done playing the game and it's on TV and stuff, this guy Keith used to run Raise. I think it was Keith Miller maybe, or something like that. So he hit me up, and because I was doing Failure and Snafu and the whole Survivor thing. So he had me and Mark Mulville come to Raise. They put us up in a hotel, paid us money to come there, treated us like kings, and people just come ride Raise with Matt the Beard Bischoff and Mark Mulville. So that's the only time I ever went to Raise, and which is sad to say because I live 4 hours away from Raise. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? Yeah. When I rode Raise that first time with Mulville, I said, this is probably one of the most fun times I've ever had on my bike, and I did not have to do any tricks. It was just riding around, cruising through berms, laughing, having a good time with my friends. And so when I went back a couple weeks ago, when I met you, I was like, oh man, I have not really been riding that much, dude. And I'm not in that, when you're riding BMX all the time, you're in the super good cardiovascular shape, muscular. I mean, you're a fit person. My whole life, riding, I never worked out or anything like that. I was always just ripped and in great shape. And So I was concerned, like, am I going to be able to ride Rays like for like 10 hours without passing the hell out? But oh, dude, it was perfect. And honestly, my body didn't really hurt at all. I thought my legs might be kind of sore from
Mm.
pumping through stuff, but dude, it was fun. The only thing I will say, and I was telling Vic Murphy this, since I hadn't been riding, I mean, dude, like I had a street spine. I had ramps in my backyard for damn near 20 years of my life. And riding a street spine was like, I rode street spines, like 5.5, 6 foot tall street spines every day. So I have a ton of tricks I can do on a street spine, but I have not done them in 10 years. So I was like, you know what? So badly, I'm watching you ride in that room. I'm watching Patty. I'm watching Corey Coffee. I was like, I so badly just want a 360 tail tap that spine, come down, do a wall ride, 180 the spine. All these things going through my head, but I was like, dude, I have not done that. I can't just get on my bike after not riding in a long time and go for all this stuff. So I just kind of was like held back, and I was like, I just got to be smart about it. But it did motivate me, dude, to want to ride more because I am a bike rider. And the only reason that I have not continued to ride every day is because in 2016, I moved from the house that I had the Red Bull backyard build off ramp and my dirt jumps. I moved because I had kids that needed to go to a better school district. I sacrificed my ramps and trails and didn't have stuff to ride. And I was so used to walking in my backyard every day to ride that I'm spoiled. So I was like, dude, I don't want to drive like an hour to ride some park. And then I was working for DK for a little while. We had indoor ramps, and I don't work there anymore, but I would ride those ramps on my lunch break every day. So I don't know. It was inspiring. And for 2025, I really wanted to start riding more, you know what I mean? And going to some trails. I know I was texting my friend Kenny earlier. He told you about the Newport, Kentucky
Yeah.
trails or whatever that used to be going way back in the day, and they're rebuilding those. So I'm going to try to go, kind of mosey on out to some trails and stuff this year. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Ray's was, dude, it was an unbelievable time.
It sounds like you're gonna be back up from the way.
That's my plan, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, you
That's
gotta
my
hit
plan.
me up because we can ride the street spine. I can help you bring this back.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Hell yeah! And I was gonna ask you too. You kind of talked a little bit about it already, but asking like what your BMX life looks like currently for.
Yeah, I mean, so my BMX life currently, dude, has been kind of non-existent because like I'm not involved in any kind of brand right now. I don't work in the industry. I worked in the bike industry for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't have the ramps and trails, my bike riding has been going to like pump tracks or this place called the Dayton Bike Yard, which is like
Mm-hmm.
you've been there probably. They got some jump lines and stuff like that. A lot of the indoor skate parks that were around here, one was called Ollie's Skate Park. It went out of business. There used to be a place called Aggressive Skate that I would ride in Ohio. I mean, there's Mike's Bike Park, but like, and I don't get me wrong, I love like rollers and box jump rhythm sections and stuff like that. But I come from like riding everything, street, trails, mini ramp, and I really like a park that has like all that kind of stuff. If I just want a session like ledges and rails and do different grind stuff. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of indoor parks around anymore. And it's a shame because I think that's one of the reasons why BMX is like down is yes, we have more outdoor pump track kind of things popping up everywhere and concrete parks, but in a place like Ohio where it's crappy a lot of the year, there's very few besides Ray's, Mike's Bike Park. Changa World's not there anymore. The Flow, which was one of the most badass skate parks of all time in Columbus, Ohio, like Flow 1 and then Flow 2. I mean, we would go there constantly and ride, and there's just not a lot of indoor places for kids to ride. If there was, dude, if Ray's was in Cincinnati, Ohio, I would have never had a downtime where I was not
Yeah.
riding my bike. It's just my priorities kind of changed a little bit when I started having kids. It was like my focus is now raising these kids, and my kids are my life. And at the time when they were growing up, I had ramps and jumps, and my son, who I took to raise, was like, "Dad," he's like, "if we would have still lived in that house with the ramps and the jumps, I would have probably been like a big time BMX rider, like because I would have been riding every day with you, right?"
Mhm.
So when I left that, it kind of like put a damper on my riding, but it's never stopped me from like loving BMX. And this is the first time I've done a podcast. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say ever, because Adam 22 had me on a come up podcast and stuff before, back way back when. But it's been many years since I've done a podcast on talking about BMX. Because my life after Survivor went from I do a podcast on Survivor, reality TV, all that kind of stuff. But my true love is not reality television. It's bike riding and music. So that's why I'm super stoked coming on this today, because I love what you do, and there needs to be more platforms like this, because I think a lot of people are listening to podcasts. There's no more magazines. And so being able to look at YouTube and stuff on your phone and stuff that you're putting out, BMX news and so forth, I think it's a great tool for kids to kind of see what's going on and kind of learn something of what the BMX is all about.
Yeah. Just for the people who are all screaming at their TVs and phones and computers, Changa 2 does still exist.
Okay, I was not sure if it did, because Scott, who ran the Changas, I love that dude. I just have not talked to him in forever, and I literally see nothing about Changa 2
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, pretty much the only like thing that would go around for them each year would be just the one contest that Trevor, who was at Ray's and went to dinner with us, does every year. But that, yeah, you're right. That's about it. But yeah, I think you might be onto something there, and a lack of somewhere to go once it's cold is a definite killer for people when it comes to riding.
And dude, the fact, I mean, I'm just gonna straight up say it, like I from a young age, we would go in the woods and build dirt jumps. We'd
Yeah.
go into we would tear down the woods, make a trail, build tabletops and berms and dirt jumps back in the day. And we would build our own, quarter pipes in a buddy's driveway. I and we just like go ride down the street, hit curbs and street ride. I don't see a single person, dude, ever driving around my neighborhood, driving around downtown Cincinnati, which used to be one of the most biggest hotbeds for street riding. Hands down, Cincinnati is one of the top places for street riding, dude. I mean, so many badass riders came out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Tony Nyer, obviously, one of the most recognizable. Um, I just feel like kids are like lazy. They look at their phone. Their attention span is so just scrolling. They don't want to put in the work and effort to build trails. And the internet and phones and video games, I think, have played a big role in the decline of new kids wanting to ride, which is crazy to me, because you would think with the internet and everything that you have, there's so much information out there more than ever to like find out about BMX, more
Yeah.
so than even the magazines. But I really think it's a curse. There's zero BMX magazines. You have contest riders like the Chad Kagis, the Jamie Bestwicks, the Simon Tebrons, like vert rider guys, or just like the Scotty Kramer, Brett Banashewitz type riders. There's no do tours anymore. There's like everyone's pulled out of BMX. Levi's jeans used to be a big part of sponsoring BMX riders. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has just kind of bailed out of BMX. So you couple all that, what I just said, with like, mountain biking's becoming a bigger kind of thing, like the bigger wheeled bikes, which I don't personally ride. I have nothing against the bigger wheeled bikes, but I'm more of a purist. I love my 20-inch BMX bike, but I just feel lack of places indoors to ride in colder climates. And just if I'm a kid right now and I go online and I see that R Willie guy doing some like triple bike flip, tail whip, flippy do, which is unbelievable. I'll watch some of the stuff these guys do, like the Nitro Circus guys, or like Logan Martin or some of these Australian dudes. It is so unbelievable. I have such a high respect. But if I was watching that as my 18-year-old son, if he's watching that, he would say, dude, I would never, ever be able to remotely attempt doing any of that stuff. It's circus tricks. And it would be a turnoff, right? When I started riding, it was like we talk about Eddie Roman that you just interviewed at Ray's, his video Agroman, all those Dirt Bros videos that I mentioned earlier. I could watch those videos and say to myself, wow, I think I can hit a curb and learn a 180 or a bar spin or a foot plant or a wall ride or a fakie wall ride or an abubica, watching Dennis McCoy. And I was able to achieve that stuff, those tricks, without risk of really killing myself. And I progressed very rapidly as a rider, ended up getting sponsored and so forth. But the early BMX days was like achievable of like, I can do that. And I just think the level of riding has become so gnarly that if a kid if his first thing of BMX is seeing a airbag trick or a crazy mega ramp triple, front flip, that to me is not BMX. That's impressive, but BMX to me is like hanging out. Hey, let's go street riding. Hey, dudes, let's meet downtown at the bank to wall and let's all try to do, wall rides or whatever. And it's just it's a community. It's a tight knit lifestyle thing. And I think that's what we need to do is try to create a scene. If there is no scene, there is no BMX. In music, if there's a local city with a bar where bands play and stuff, like it creates a music scene. Oh, this punk band is playing Friday night, and then these person like inspire, they want to start a band. So like there has to be places that exist, and that all starts in the grassroots of backyard ramps, trails, street riding, events. I know you did a podcast with Chris Moeller where you're talking about, video premieres, different things like that. A scene needs to be created. And we saw that when we went to Ray's. There is a scene, Ray's.
Yeah.
That place, people go there and ride. And so, I don't know, dude. I hate what phones have done to the world, because I think it's made some people lazy and really not wanting to go make their own scene.
I have some theories on all of this.
Good. I want to hear them.
So I just watched a podcast the other day where they were talking about the concept of watching stuff in place of doing stuff. And it actually makes a lot of sense whenever you think about that. And I can even remember back to a ethics class I had whenever I was in high school attending a local college. The concept of the experience machine is what this guy was talking about, and how like people aren't going to do anything anymore when they can just have a machine where they can experience it without having to actually do it. And so I think there's a couple things at play there where BMX at the crazy level that lands it on TV is one, so gnarly and crazy and inaccessible, but also because of that becomes just a consumable piece of entertainment versus being something that someone sees and has afterthoughts about it. It's just I'm watching this for this moment in time, and that's my entertainment for this, then I'm moving to the next thing. And And you're exactly right in that it's so crazy, and partially I can feel why people would say that's not BMX, because it's lacking like the soul that is BMX, and that when you see something and you want to go do it. And so my theory on all of this, because I think you can't really argue any of that, it's just that is a truth, in that kids are, and people in general are just consuming this stuff, and they don't have to actually participate in it because they're consuming it. And we all do it to an extent, but I think how we fix that, and something that seems no one is talking about, is by trying to make it more accessible, and having people who have the trails and the backyard ramps and indoor skate parks and all of that is a necessary step in it. But I take it even another step before that, in that the pros of today, like if our Willie made the connection of what we're talking about, and maybe he has, maybe he's done this and I just don't know about it, I'm ignorant to it, but if he did that and then he just made a super basic video where he goes to a pump track or a local skate park and he's like, hey, if you've seen me do all this crazy stuff, that's not the, it took me a long time to get to that point, but BMX is really fun, and all you really need to do to have fun is ride this pump track with your friends and you're having fun, or ride the local skate park. You don't have to do backflips and crazy tail whips or anything. You can just ride around and have fun with your friends. If there was those supporting, I hate the word content, but that's what it is, and there's no better word for it. If there was those supporting pieces of content instead of just the absolute craziest and highest level of everything. If Garrett Reynolds made a video that was like, hey guys, I just won X Games gold and have the most X Games golds ever, but it's not like, BMX is just fun at its core, and I'm going to show you how to jump up a curb. And
yeah, that's exactly. And I want to just say, like, in no way am I trying to disrespect the level of, I've seen it all, dude. I've been at Matt Hoffman's house when he was getting towed by a motorcycle before anyone ever saw it.
Yeah.
Doing a 26-foot air. I've stood on a vert ramp when Jamie Bestwick is doing the most gnarly, beautiful art form vert riding of all time. I've been on trips with Wessel and Kagi and Brad Sims, and seen the most amazing street riding on Mega Tour and stuff. So I love all of it, but I feel that BMX at its core is, like we started off talking about Lou Bickle and FBM videos, is like hanging out with your buddies, whether it's at the trails, on the deck of a mini ramp, or at a street spot, and you're all kind of encouraging each other. And that's what I love about BMX, is like, I get just as excited when I was at Ray's and my 18-year-old son, who's going through the micro rhythm, and he's learning how, Dad, I'm learning how to jump these jumps. Like, I'm getting a little bit of air and learning how to flow through them. I get just as stoked seeing a beginner learn beginner stuff as I would seeing someone do, some outrageous quadruple tail whip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And competitions like Texas Toast Jam or Swamp Fest or UGP Flying Circus, like those grassroots events, Metro Jams, those really cool events, I think, are very important for BMX. I went to Texas Toast a couple different times. I went to Simple Session before, and all of those events just bring together riders from all over the world. And when Simple Session happened, you would have like the top guys in the world going there, not for the prize money. They just went there because it was a great time. You're in Estonia with your bros riding this amazing course that Nate Wessel built. And there's, to me in life, like, I've done a lot of cool stuff, but if I look back on my life, I mean, BMX has just been such a major part of my best friends, my most amazing experiences. I mean, it literally consumed my life. And I do miss, like, I don't miss like being in the industry because I ran my own company failure for a long time. Um, but I do miss riding. And that's why I'm kind of going to be on a mission to ride more in 2025.
Yeah.
So, because there's nothing like it, dude. I quit soccer after my freshman year of high school because I was like, dude, once I started getting really hardcore into BMX, it was game over. It was it's the best, and you know it, and it doesn't matter what your background is, if you're rich, poor, black, white, gay, straight, atheist, Christian, it doesn't matter. We all have this bond of BMX, and it's some of the most open-minded, cool people I've ever met are from BMX.
No doubt about it. And yeah, that's why I talk so much about trying to about these concepts to try to help BMX is because I want it. I want to see it grow. I want to see it do
Yes,
better. That's exactly where I'm sure you're coming from with it as well.
for sure, dude, for sure.
And at the bottom level of to grow it, it's just going to take people who don't already ride seeing riding, because
Hmm.
if you're already in it, you can't like you're already there,
Correct.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. We could sit here and talk about all that stuff forever, but you
Hmm.
brought up failure and snafu. Whatever did happen with them and in general?
Well, I mean, do you mean to like start with like the backstory origins of what we're
We got to
dealing?
catch people up to speed on what failure and snafu even were if they didn't or don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. So here's the deal. Like I told you earlier, the Dirt Brothers I looked up to. I ended up riding for the Dirt Brothers in the early 2000s. Became friends with Vic Murphy, this guy Jim Sibley, and they were making their own frames, and it was like a dream come true. I was on the Dirt Brothers team. I also sent a sponsor me video to Snafu, and then I was a sponsored Snafu pro rider. Um, so Snafu and Dirt Brothers were my sponsors. And this guy Magoo is who one of my best friends, one of the most hilarious, amazing people, smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. Magoo is the best, and he was the man behind Snafu, along with this guy Bill Bryant and this guy Mike Collins, a friend of mine, was a TM at the time. So when I'm on Dirt Brothers, kind of like Ron Bonner, he had Shadow Conspiracy, and then Subrosa kind of grew and was a side brand from Shadow, right? That's what Failure started out as. Vic Murphy and this guy Scott Papiro, amazing photographer and graphic design guy, good friend of mine. Those guys came up with the name Failure and made some t-shirt designs, and Vic was wanting it to be a spin-off company of Dirt Brothers and have me be the face of the brand. Okay. And I was all about it. I've always been an entrepreneur, dude. Like before that, even I ran my own t-shirt company called 13 Enterprises. I put out a video called Cincy on Fire. And then I put another video out called Volume Zero under the 13 like t-shirt brand. And Dan's Comp was a big supporter. They carried. I sold a ton of shit from that 13 Enterprises clothing company. So I am highly motivated and highly passionate about whatever that I'm doing. Okay. So Vic was kind of like, honestly, dude, like I don't really have time to do this failure stuff. We're gonna focus on just doing Dirt Bro stuff. But dude, he's like, take the name, like take failure and run with it. Right. I'm just do your thing with it. Yeah, I know you love this failure thing. So I'm a Cincinnati kid, and System Cycle Supply in DK is about 45 minutes from my house. System Cycle was like a big BMX distributor, still around today.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to System because I was always like going to all the DK dirt circuits and stuff. That all those guys knew me. And I went to them and I said, hey, I got this brand called Failure, and I'd love to have distribution for this brand. I really want to step it up. I want to make frames and forks and go for it. And I kind of learned how the BMX business worked from Magoo, because when I was riding for Snafu, I kind of hit up Magoo and I was like, dude, like you make all this bike parts over in Taiwan. How do you go about making bike parts in Taiwan? He was my mentor. So Magoo put me in contact with a trading agent. And what a trading agent is it's kind of a liaison between me, Matt Bischoff, the company guy, and the factories, because I don't speak Chinese or whatever. So like my trading agent is able to take my designs and my CAD drawings and go to the factories and source things and get pricing for me, and they deal with everything for the brand. So I had the same trading agent dude as like Snafu, Fit, Hoffman Bikes, big time trading agent. So what I did was I went to System Cycle and I sat down and I had a meeting, and me and the main buyer guy from System Cycle came up with like a business plan. He was like, I want to distribute your brand, Matt, and here's what System Cycle would like to buy from you. We want like 5 t-shirts, a hoodie, a hat, a sprocket, bars, frame, fork, all this stuff. So what I did is I had my artist, Scott Papiro, design all the graphics. I had a CAD guy design all my bike parts, right, that I wanted to do. And I then presented like all this product line to System Cycle Supply, and they're like, dude, we love it. We want to place our first purchase order with you. So I gave them an order form, and they ordered like a whole bunch of stuff from me. And so I sent that order form over to Taiwan to my trading agent. And when everything was ready to ship, my trading agent said, hey, Matt, you owe us X amount of money for this product. I knew what I was charging System Cycle for, so I made an invoice for System Cycle Supply. System Cycle Supply wired me the money to pay me the money, and when I got the wire transfer, I then wire transferred Taiwan, and they released the shipment and sent everything over on a container. So I was able to have the backing of a distributor to finance my first order. It's not like let's just say it was $30,000 to order this stuff from Taiwan. I did not spend that money up front out of Matt Bischoff's bank account. I was able to leverage the distributor that was buying the stuff. They were buying it anyways. I got the money from them first, and then I paid my trading agent. That's how I started it. Then by doing that, I went to my first Interbike, and I picked up multiple international distributors. Everyone was excited about Failure. I had a trade show booth, and I'm just a passionate guy from Cincinnati with this brand, and I picked up like Canada and Germany and all these different countries. So now what I'm doing is sending out my order forms to all my distributors, and then I'm placing the order with my Taiwanese trading agent, and I'm doing the same thing that I did with System, but worldwide.
Yeah.
So my brand grew, going to Interbike year after year, growing the brand, and then I'm still riding for Snafu at the time as well. So here's what happens. I have a team of riders. The Failure Bikes team at the time was like, I was getting like core people, Brant, to ride for me. I never envisioned Failure to be like X Games pros. I wanted the underground street rider type guys. This guy, Jeremiah Smith, this guy, Kevin Spanier, who's still one of the most tech awesome riders of all time. Jesse Whaley and these different guys from Temecula, California, DGAF Dan Norvell. I had these guys that were like up and coming that were on fire to create content. They weren't expecting like big paychecks. They were excited to be on a company that was, I feel like Failure was more like a metal bikes, like Jimmy Levan's company, or like FBM. It was kind of that core style of company. So anyways, I sponsored all these riders. We're going on road trips. We're going on mega tour. And then what happened, dude, is this System Cycle, my distributor, they went through some issues where they were kind of having to like cut back on their distro company. And around that time, they were getting ready to kind of merge with like Huffy Bicycles. So System Cycle was like, dude, we can't distribute your brand anymore. And I was like, crap. I was like, I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Like I'm a one-man show. Like, yes, I had like Scott Papiro, my friend, did all the graphics and photography and catalog layout. It was like him and I, and then my trading agent, but I didn't have a huge group of employees, dude. Doing Failure was like real hardcore. And so Jeremiah Smith was like, dude, I know this guy named Clay Goldsmith. He runs a company called Hyper Bicycles. He sells like Mike Spinner bikes to like Walmart. Big time businessman in the mass market business, right? Big box stores, which some may say that's cheesy, that's lame, whatever. But I was so passionate and so hell bent on keeping my brand alive. I called the guy up and I was like, yo, Clay, I was like, this is the Beard with Failure Bikes. He's like, hey man, I know who you are and stuff. I know your brand. And I was like, listen, dude, System Cycle is out. Like, I don't have a distributor right now in America. And I don't have the money myself I guess I could have gone and got like loans and shit like that. But I was like, would you want to get involved in my brand? And he was like, hell yeah. So him and I, long story short, came up with like a kind of a business plan where he would take over the financial responsibilities of Failure Bikes. I would still be the brand manager. Clay Goldsmith would now be in charge of, like I said, all the money. I didn't have to stress about that. And I would get a paycheck, just like a job. So I'm now in cahoots with Clay, awesome guy. And he's kind of financing everything. Now, the BMX world, I don't think knew necessarily at the time any different because I'm still the Beard with Failure Bikes and doing our stuff. It just was kind of different financial backers. So Clay, and then shortly after that, so bringing the Snafu thing in, Magoo, who is one of my main mentors, and I owe everything to him for getting my, I owe Vic Murphy, Magoo, and Bill Danishek that owns DK, and Clay Goldsmith are four major people that has helped me out in my bike company stuff. Magoo, he was wanting to get out of BMX. He saw the writing on the wall with so many parts and accessories companies do that it was not sustainable necessarily. He had a motorcycle company called Builtwell. He was focused on Builtwell. So he's like, hey, Matt, I love Snafu. I know you love Snafu. Do you think Clay from Hyper that got involved with Failure would want to get involved in Snafu and have you be the brand manager? So I was like, let me call up my good old friend Clay. So I called up Clay, and long story short, Clay bought Snafu from Magoo. And now I am working as brand manager for Failure Bikes and Snafu under Clay, who owned Hyper. Yeah. And it was totally, and the cool thing was what Clay was attempting to do was just expand his portfolio of brands. Yeah. It's like if he is selling tons of bikes to Walmart via Hyper, he can look hardcore and legit to the Walmart people by saying, hey, dude, besides Hyper, I'm also involved with this guy, Matt Bischoff from Failure and Snafu. It gives him a little more street cred, right? And because a lot of people frown upon the big box, like you're a sellout, you're selling like cheap, crappy bikes to like Walmart or Dick's or whatever. But dude, at the end of the day, it's called the bicycle business for a reason. You have to make money in order to stay afloat. So I was having my kids at the time, and I needed to stay afloat. And Clay trusted in me, and really kind of helped keep my vision alive with Failure and Snafu. And that's kind of how. Well, and then to go on, I know I'm rambling, so please interrupt me if you want to. Clay wanted a big name rider on the team.
Yeah.
Okay. And because we always had like these like just more hardcore riders. So Harry Main was like really freaking popular, putting out the Harry Mania videos and stuff like that on YouTube. So we sponsored Harry Main, and so he was like one of the main like big time kind of pro famous guys that we put on Failure.
Yeah.
And Harry was like super cool. We had a great time. We did some great things together. And dude, I'll tell you what, Nate Wessel and Chad Kagi and Jamie Bestwick, people loved Failure of what it was about, and they just wanted to ride and be a part of it. Kagi rode and in X Games and Do Tours, dude. He was on the Failure team. On Props Mega Tour, we were riding. He's like, dude, I'm just putting myself on Failure, dude. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, of course. I'll send you shit. And same thing with like Wessel and Bestwick. So like there was something very special about Failure, and I miss it because I no longer do it because I was in cahoots with Clay, and he kind of switched gears and wanted me to kind of do more work for Hyper and kind of put Failure bikes on the back burner. And so he moved kind of me and Harry Main over to the Hyper brand.
Yeah.
And was kind of shelving Failure, which I kind of had no choice because at the time, dude, it's like I needed to make money and stuff like that. So I started working for Hyper and Snafu. And then eventually that just did not work out. And I walked away from all of that and got a job at DK Bikes.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Gotcha. So Failure essentially was shifted focus from that to Hyper, and that's
correct.
And that's just what ended up happening with it.
Yeah. And so right now, dude, it's like there's Failure Bikes products still exist. They were never, we never did like a clearance sale and sold. Like there's a warehouse somewhere that has Failure Bikes, frames, forks, bars, soft, sitting there doing nothing. And because like I said, I walked away from it all. And there's been talk over the years of, possible resurrection of Failure and stuff like that. It hasn't seen the light of day, but over the past, since COVID, there's been various conversations. Who knows if anything will ever continue on with that or if I even want to do that, but I'm always open because like Failure was a huge part of my life,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. I still see there's somebody who goes to Rays that's still riding a or Failure Maniac, not a Hyper,
really
a Failure one. Yeah, somebody, yeah. And I see it here and there. I was like, that was a huge thing. I remember the Maniac line, just everybody loved that. And I actually did just watch before we started the Adam video where you talked with Adam 22 about stuff. And in that, you were talking a lot about Harry Main's influence and how when you guys did the frame, it was sold out like really, really fast. And it was crazy to hear you talk like this in 2012 and talk about like someone's influence on social media, when I feel like that term influencer, as much as that term sucks, but it's like, it's accurate, as like that hadn't really been widely used yet at that time, but you were conscious of it. And from the way you just talked about things, it sounds like working with Harry was a conscious choice because of what he was doing and his presence online. And like I was saying, it's just really interesting to hear you talk about it from that mindset, like way before I feel like people were really honing in on using that as like a marketing tool. I mean, you talked about how it really helped failure at the time.
It did, and I want to give credit to Clay Goldsmith, which he's like a no one even knows who Clay Goldsmith really is. He's not in the public eye like
Yeah, I want to do a
like.
podcast with him. Clay,
So
hit me up.
he has two kids, Clay Goldsmith Jr. and Shane Goldsmith, who
Yeah.
I'm sure you met Shane before. Maybe he's like the TM. He does a bunch of stuff for Snafu and Hyper and stuff like that. But dude, the choice to put Harry Main on failure was a game changer. But I will say it came with a price.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into like crazy numbers, but it was pretty significant investment as far as like, most pro riders. It's like, I think when I was riding for Snafu, dude, I was getting like $500 a month. And the thing is, and I know that you have talked to Chris Moeller on your podcast about the value of a rider. And like, if you're paying me $500 a month or any rider, you need to be doing things in order for the brand to sell products to justify paying someone $500 a month. And the problem is a lot of BMXers are too cool and too lazy to do the legwork of what needs to be done to promote a brand. There have been so many times, dude, I'd be at like a do tour. Dude, please run this sticker on your helmet or your frame or wear a shirt. Well, I like just a frame with like, no stickers on it. It looks more hardcore. It's like, dude, we're paying you money. Put the sticker on your bike, dude. What are you doing? You need to be constantly promoting the brand. And like Harry Main promoted the brand of failure and Snafu. I would go to Interbike when we introduced the Maniac line, dude. It was literally Harry Main at the time when we put him on there was like the biggest, most popular rider that there was.
Oh,
like,
I remember.
Harry Main, the first Harry Mania was like he does like a backflip flare drop in on a quarter or something. He was doing mind-blowing stuff. And like we sold tons of frames, tons of product. And then here's the other cool thing that you probably don't even know. So like Monster Energy drink in Europe contacted me and they said, Matt, we want to order like 5,000. I don't know the exact number, but let's just say 5,000. We want to order 5,000 complete failure bikes from you. We want to design a bike to give away in Monster Energy drink sweepstakes all across the UK and Europe, all that, where there'd be like, you go into a gas station, there'd be a cardboard cutout of Harry Main holding up a bike.
Yeah.
It would say, click or sign up to win this failure Monster Energy drink Harry Main bike, dude. So we designed, my art people and Monster's art people designed failure meets Monster Energy drink bike.
Wow.
They bought the bikes to give away in sweepstakes, dude. I sold more bikes to Monster Energy drink than I did to any distributor that I ever had. Like we never really did complete bikes, but it was a failure Monster Energy drink complete bike, and it was sick, dude. And that was all because of Harry Main and our relationship, and that was one of the most fun projects I worked on with Harry.
That is incredible. And to hear you say these things, it's so crazy to me how many people today, because we're so removed from what you just said, get upset to hear that they should be doing work as a professional BMX rider. And it's mind-blowing to me. I've talked about this stuff a lot recently, and the
I know.
amount of pushback that I've gotten on it, and the amount of things that I've heard from like from people who are in group chats with the pro riders just laughing me out of existence for talking about this stuff, or the people who I was talking to about it, just laughing at them, or like just talking all this shit to meme pages all over the place just for suggesting that someone should do their job as a professional BMX rider.
Here's the thing, dude. Like, it would drive Magoo crazy years ago. Like, I mean, yeah, like 2012, 2010, whatever. Here's the thing. I rode for Snafu as a Snafu pro, getting paid $500 a month. I was on the team with Dave Mira, Dave Frymouth, Patty Gross, all kinds of amazing riders. Mike Ardeline, guys that blew me away on the skill level of riding. Okay. I was a good bike rider. Like, I'm not trying to downplay myself. I think I was a real good bike rider. But what I was better at is being the beard, being an ambassador for BMX, being passionate about the thing that I grew up watching and loved. So they would gladly pay me money because I was so on fire for BMX. I was doing more on MySpace and my companies and all this stuff than the top pro riders were by running just a sticker on their helmet. Like, I was like trying to like make shit happen, dude, all the time. Make videos, uh, get go to Interbike and make sure that I was getting interviewed by Ride BMX or the Come Up or whatever. I ended up getting invited, dude, to be the MC and host of the Do Tour in San Francisco in maybe 2012, 2013. Mark Losey hit me up and said, "We want you to come to the Do Tour and be the guy doing all the live interviews for NBC Sports." So I got paid money, dude, and I was wearing Failure or Snafu or Hyper shit, and, and I'm sitting there interviewing. Dude, it was so stressful, but I'm used to it because I've always been on camera, dude. Like, in the early 90s, I did a public access music video show called Urban Discipline, which led to my love of BMX, videos and editing BMX videos, etc. I've always been natural at being on camera. I've been hosting a podcast for like the last 6 years on the show Survivor, stuff like that. But I was like, I'd have an earbud and I in my ear, like, and they would be like, "All right, Matt, we're going live on NBC Sports in 3, 2, 1." And I'd be like, "Yo, what's up? I'm Matt Bischoff here at the San Francisco Do Tour Dirt event. Oh, Chris Doyle's right here. Doyle, come here." And I was just interviewing live, dude. I was the pre-show before the event, a 30-minute pre-show. Dude, so I did that stuff for that Do Tour. I did stuff for another Do Tour. So I am putting myself out there, dude, not just as a bike rider, but as a personality and a BMX ambassador entity, like Trey Jones does for Swamp Fest or whatever. Like, I was that guy years ago, and I feel that I had worth to me because I'm out there not just like riding and putting out a web edit, but I'm like doing all kinds of different stuff. In today's world, if I had a BMX company right now and I was doing Failure or whatever, dude, you have to do everything. You have to do your social media. I would do a podcast just like you do. You have to do various things. You can't just be a pro bike rider just because you can do a backwards, ice pick grind down a rail. And it's like, oh my God, dude, look what Van Homan did or Garrett. Like, there's more to being a pro than just riding your bike. You have to promote the brand, and the company has to get a return on their investment. I know you talked about affiliate marketing in a podcast you did with Chris Moeller, and I am completely in agreement with your idea because I was an affiliate marketer for a freaking griddle, like a gas grill that you cook on. I was an ambassador, dude, right before COVID, like probably 2018 to 2020 for a company called Blackstone Griddles.
Yeah.
I hit up Blackstone Griddles because my wife bought me a Blackstone. I hit those guys up and I was like, dude, I never cooked a day in my life till I got this griddle. I was like, I'd love to get involved with Blackstone because I'm a passionate person. I was like, do you have any kind of like marketing affiliate? And they're like, oh, dude, we'd love to have you as a marketing affiliate. Here's a 10% discount code for Blackstone. Your code will be Blackstone Beard. So, dude, I started a YouTube channel where I'm cooking food. I'm promoting my freaking code. Dude, I made so much money in like a couple years from my commissions for Blackstone Griddles, proving that if you put in the work and the focus and the content, that you can make money. So like, there's not a lot of money in BMX, dude. So like, if you're a rider and you think, yeah, just because you can do a double front flip that you're God's gift, I'm sorry, you're not. It's more about personality, lifestyle, and entrepreneurship along with your gift of being a great bike rider is what makes you someone that should be sponsored, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and like I said, over the years, I dealt with so many riders that would refuse to wear a sticker, refuse to do this. And I'm like, you guys are dumb. Like, if I'm sponsored by Dirt Brothers, like I'm wearing a Dirt Bros t-shirt right now.
There you go.
Wear the merch, promote the brand, hand out stickers. You're not just going to get paid just because you're a badass and you put out a killer web edit. If there's no direct sales coming in, then what is the point of sponsoring somebody?
Yeah. And I think a problem in BMX right now is that we've gotten to a point where there's so many people who that's all they do anymore.
Yeah.
And they still get paid for it. And people haven't hit, like, the shit hasn't hit the fan for enough people yet.
Yeah.
Because there certainly are people who are professional about it and put in that work. And something that I've been wanting to make a video about lately, just talking about, is the concept of not just waiting on things to happen or hoping that they just happen organically. Everything that you've talked about in this entire conversation up to this point, anything to do with business or anything good from business that happened for you, you talked about how you made it happen. There have been some like lucky things here and there, you know, with like Magoo asking you if you wanted to be the one to take over Snafu and whatever, but like that came from you and the hard work. He didn't just like randomly be like, oh, I'm just gonna give it to this guy. And I think that people in BMX have yet to realize, and they still don't think it's cool to put effort in to make these things happen. But the reality of it is that nothing really big or really cool that happens just on its own.
No, absolutely not, dude. And the other thing I will say is a lot of kids don't understand the bike business. That's why it's cool when you do a podcast with like Moeller or people that talk to Ronnie Bonner or even me that was involved forever. People tend to think, especially back when there's magazines and stuff, if they see like failure, like on Mega Tour, and they see like a full page failure bikes ad, and they see me on TV doing do tour stuff, they assume that I'm rich as fuck and that I'm like a high roller. Oh, dude, they must be killing it. If you want to make money, if you want to make killer money, dude, don't start a BMX bike company, right?
Yeah.
Unless you do what Clay Goldsmith does and you sell to Walmart, then you're going to be making some money. But all the core BMX companies, it's like you do it because you love the sport. It's your passion. It's your life. But I wasn't like rolling in the dough, dude. I was trying to make a living for my wife and my family, and I had the house with the backyard ramps, dude. I created a scene. I spent countless hours and money building trails in my backyard, right? For years. I rented a house in probably 97. So I would say from 97 to 2016, I had ramps and trails in
Mm-hmm.
houses of various forms. And I want to talk about this because I am a go-getter, make things happen kind of person. So even though I was doing the bike company stuff, I was also, that's not all I was doing. Like I worked for Red Bull energy drinks for a while. And I would drive around in a Red Bull car giving Red Bull to people for free. It was like the most cake job ever.
Yeah.
And I had this brainchild concept of having ramps and jumps in my yard, right? And always seeing like Chenga World and the Wheel Mill and all these, epic skate parks throughout time, or the simple session ramps or the X Games courses, right? And I thought to myself, you know what? The ramp builders that put their blood, sweat, and tears into these courses and the trail building and everything else never really get the recognition that they deserve. They're not really in the spotlight. The pro bike riders are in the spotlight at these competitions, but no one really knows the backstory of the ramps. So since I had backyard ramps, I thought of this idea. I was like, you know what? I want to do an event in my backyard. I want to call it the Backyard Build Off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find three-man teams of builders, okay?
Yeah.
They're all going to have 3 days, the same amount of building materials to build the most ultimate ramp. And at the end of it, I'm going to fly all of the badass hand-picked bike riders that I can think of to my backyard. We're going to unveil the ramp, and we're going to say you have 1 hour to practice on this ramp, and we're having a contest. The ramp builders are going to judge the bike riders. The bike riders are going to judge which section of the bike park are the most fun. So it's a dual contest. So since I worked for Red Bull, dude, I went to Rob Dyrdek in Kettering, Ohio, had this Rob Dyrdek Skate Plaza skate park, and there was going to be a grand opening of that I went to. While at that grand opening, I went to lunch with this guy, Herb, who was a sports marketing manager for Red Bull. I said, yo, dude, I was like, I got this badass bike company called Failure, and I was like, I have backyard ramps. I have an idea for a Red Bull competition. So I told him about my idea that I just told you.
Yep.
And he was like, actually, that sounds really killer. He's like, if you don't mind, put together a PowerPoint presentation and email me the PowerPoint, and I'll pitch it to my bosses. So I had never done a damn PowerPoint presentation in my life. I had a friend help me. I actually have Mike Collins from Snafu help me with the PowerPoint. Dude, I came up with I laid the whole event down. I presented it to Red Bull. The next thing I know, Red Bull is cutting Failure Bikes a fat check to put on the Backyard Build Off. So I did it in my backyard. I got no permission from the township, the county, nothing. Dude, my whole backyard. I mean, so Nate Wessel, I had never met Wessel, always a hero of mine. I called him. I said, I got this idea for this competition. I want you to be involved with me. I want Nate Wessel each day. Nate Wessel, King Ramp Builder, is going to build with Ramp Build Team 1, Ramp Build Team 3. He's going to help you guys out, right? And he's also going to look at all your designs to make sure that the Backyard Build Off ramp flows as one continuous ramp.
Yeah.
So, dude, Red Bull, we did that event. You saw the DVD. It was highly successful. It was all over Props, all over Fuel TV, all over every bike magazine. Every bike rider that came to that event, dude, I mean, everyone from Corey Martinez to Taj Mihalich to Van Homan to Chase Hawk. I mean, dude, Josh Harrington, I mean, the best riders in the world came to my house. and did it. It was so epic. We did it again the next year. We did a nationwide search, and we did it in Chicago at this guy Jamie Spritzer's house. Um, but that's some of my most uh, passionate pride and joys from my BMX deal, and it all ties into this. It was not Matt Bischoff being lucky to have Red Bull build a backyard ramp at my house. It was me being proactive, passionate, coming up with an idea, executing the idea, and making it happen. And that is what lacks of certain people that are just a bike rider. And I realize not everyone has that business minded, go getter attitude. But if you are a kid wanting to get sponsored for bike riding, you got to do more than a 360 tail whip to be put on a team. It's a whole mindset, and yeah. So I mean, I can't speak highly enough of that dude. You got to go after it. I mean, when I wanted to get on the TV show Survivor, I went after it and I got on it, and it changed my life and gave me such great opportunities that were totally different from BMX.
Yeah.
But I put that same passion, dude, into that as I do everything that I do. My music, the bands I'm in, the podcast that I do, BMX, whatever.
And to hear you tell the story about the backyard build off and how it was your idea originally, and then you went through the proper channels to make it happen, is just another example of how none of the best stuff that we love the most just happened on its own. It's very, very rare for that. And people these days seem to look down upon others who put effort into actually trying to make stuff happen, as if the only things that should happen are those that happen organically. I mean, even myself for the longest time was like, oh, I'm not going to go after these things. Like if somebody wants to come to me, then that's the only way I'm going to do stuff. And I don't even know why I had that mindset. But then you slowly start to realize that like the most famous people, obviously this is a shitty example, but the most famous people on the planet, like the Kardashians, didn't happen because they were smart or funny or they made like good TV. Somebody put them in that place. And none of the biggest, best things that exist. And this is part of the problem with the perception of like the Olympics in BMX, is that people act as though BMX being in the Olympics should just all of a sudden make all of these opportunities happen, and all of this amazing stuff should just spawn because of the involvement without us putting any effort in, or it shouldn't exist at all. And what you got to realize is that anybody who's ever made anything come from the Olympics, other than maybe like Michael Phelps, who just won everything and it just happened for him, anybody who's ever made anything happen from an event like that, they put the work in. Their agent is contacting the news organizations and the newspapers. Like when you see BMX in a newspaper or on TV, today, most likely it just happened on its own. But what you got to realize is if you put effort in, you can get BMX on the news. You can get it into newspapers. You can make these things happen, and it might not feel cool to people who look in, but the benefits from it are cool.
Dude, they're cool. And you like, I find zero, like I've done so much cool stuff in BMX and gotten, like I said, like System Cycle and the Clay Goldsmith stuff and the Red Bull Backyard Build Off. I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I was a sellout. I don't feel cheesy. I work damn hard and my passion shows through where people believed in me. Everyone's got ideas and everyone is a badass bike rider, but you have to have the personality to execute and make things happen, because they're not just like we talked earlier about making a scene. I bought a house and I build ramps and trails before the backyard build off. I made a scene, and I still today, dude, I'm a 50-year-old dude now. I'll sometimes go somewhere and someone will be like, "Are you Matt Bischoff?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, dude, I rode your house back in whatever 1999, and I was like a little kid, and you just kind of let me in your backyard to ride. Now, I did take a lot of risk. I just didn't give a shit. I was like, if you want to come ride my ramps and trails, like be safe, wear a helmet, or at the time I probably didn't even care if people wear a helmet, but dude, some of the most amazing riders would come to my old house. I'd come home from work and it would be like Sean Butler or Colin Winkleman or Mike Ardeline or Todd Lyons. One time was in my backyard. Steve Buddendeck,
Wow.
the photographer. I come home from work one day and he's doing like a photo shoot for like Snap BMX in my backyard with like Todd Lyons and shit.
That's
It was
awesome.
every day was like I opened up my house and my world and my life, and my wife was cool with it. And I just loved BMX, and I still want to see BMX grow and expand. And what sucks is like there are contest riders. There are no more do tours, dude. Like
Yeah.
there were so many, like there was like 5, 6 stops of do tours. Like when I was doing that, like the emceeing, hosting the live stuff, like it kind of died off. And even like Woodward Camp kind of died off. And then like there was a period of time where like after the Harry Main stuff where scooters became popular because they were easier to learn a tail whip on a scooter. And
Mhm.
now what I've heard, because I haven't been in the industry like Moeller or Bonner are still in the midst of it, right? I kind of like left, and I work for a different industry right now. But dude, even I heard like skateboarding, like all kind of action sports are not what they once were at the peak.
Yep.
But I don't think it's going to be totally dead. I just think there needs to be a scene. There needs to be a bike shop. There needs to be trails, backyard ramps, some indoor parks or private places to ride. Um, and just kids need to just know that you don't have to be a Nitro Circus kid to enjoy BMX. I rode Ray's Mountain Bike Park, dude. I think I did one Abubaca, a can, and a one-footed X up or something. But besides that, I'm cruising through berms and stuff, dude. Like I saw people from 5 years old to 70 years old at Ray's.
Yep.
And it just being on a bicycle is just fun. Get off your phone and make it happen. We used to sponsor this guy named Greg Illingworth.
Yep.
He was from South Africa. The bad dude, Greg Illingworth rules, and he had a video project that we kind of helped, like Snafu kind of helped sponsor, called Make It Happen. And he traveled the world with different people and did a video called Make It Happen. Another example of an amazing bike rider with that business-minded spirit to create something. No one's going to hand you something, dude, for nothing. You have to work for it. And I think the reason that a bike rider that's like, dude, I don't want to like have to like make an Instagram post with a discount code for whatever for fit bikes or something. Dude, like I know you're hustling. I see your sponsorships on your Instagram profile. I see you wearing a Park Tool shirt or whatever shirt repping when you're doing your stuff that you do, because that's what you have to do. You got to prove your worth, and you're creating content. There are no more magazines, dude. So things like what you're doing, everyone can listen to a podcast. Everyone's got an iPhone. And I think that putting out content and inspiring people to get off their ass and make shit happen is what really needs to occur, because bikes aren't going to miraculously just start selling without more people getting involved and falling in love with BMX.
And if you are connected with a company, and they support you, you should want to help them. You should want them to be able to do better, because that means more opportunity for you. It's that plain and simple. And so if all of a sudden tomorrow Clay hits you up and is like, we're rebooting Failure, you're 100% in charge if you want it, we're starting from just the name existing, what are you going to do in 2025 as Matt Bischoff with all the experience from the previous things.
Well, the one the one thing I got going against me, because I have been out of the loop,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a new generation of riders, right? So when I was sponsoring people, there was like this group of riders. They've all kind of gotten older, moved on. So I had to really figure out who the riders I would want to be a part of marketing the brand would be.
Yep.
But I would 100%, like, if Clay called me tomorrow and said, "Dude, we want to revamp this stuff," I would be all in for it, right? I would probably contact Wessel and Kagi and some other friends of mine and discuss some plans, because, like, I think, like, you have to have new young blood involved that are really out there doing things right now, like street riding, and just younger kids, right? But I also feel that there is a market for some legend people. People still think Nate Wessel's a badass, you know.
Yep.
People still think Travis Pastrana's a badass, and YouTube, and like Nate's real involved in like the that channel 199 Travis, but that's what he does, is just works on ramps for Pastrana and stuff like that. And um so I have so many badass friends that rule, that I think I could come up with something really cool and keep it that rock and roll. You know, I always use FBM style thing, which I got another story about that, but I would love to do something as a brand again. And I would not want to quit my actual job that pays my bills, because I would not want to have to rely on BMX solely for a paycheck. I would look at it as like a side hustle,
Yeah.
and then I would do anything possible I can and put my everything into, whether it's starting a podcast, uh, and just going to events and being the face of the brand and just bringing fun back to BMX. That's the thing. For a period of time, a lot of people took BMX so seriously. Like, it was like, you're too cool for school. Like, oh, I don't ride trails. I only ride street, or I can't do this or that because of this. Dude, hell with all that. Just be cool, because it's called freestyle for a reason. Like, it used to be called freestyle, right? And just like there was a group of characters, like if you watch those Eddie Roman videos, dude, it's like um I don't know, it was like superheroes on bikes. We don't have those superheroes as much anymore. And if we do, they're like old, like I see like at Ray's, like Doyle was there and Van Homan. It's like, those guys are superheroes, dude. Like, you got a Little Devil hat right now.
Yep.
The Little Devil video, and like all those old FBM videos of doing like fireworks and blowing shit up, and BMX is just all about hanging with your friends. And you know, a lot of brands get a lot of hate. I know Ron Bonner, when he recently joined with the Source guys, that's no different than me joining with System Cycle or Clay Goldsmith or whatever. If you want to stay in business and still have the badass parts, you have to adapt, right? So like, a lot of people are afraid to adapt, and they're afraid to be sellouts, or, oh, that's cheesy. Oh, you with that guy from Hyper, they sell bikes to Walmart. Well, you know what? The guy that sells bikes to Walmart makes a shitload of money, and his money has enabled me to live out my dream to keep failure going, because he actually has income coming in. You can't just be all hardcore forever. If you do, don't be in the BMX industry or business. But if you want BMX to grow, I mean, there's a time, dude, where I talked to Steve Crandall, because you know, obviously FBM isn't around anymore, you know.
Yep.
And I think, you know, I could have seen, you know, he was asking me what I was doing with failure at the time, getting involved with Clay, and you know, other people throughout time. I'm not going to name any names, but there's been people that when they saw Clay get involved in failure in Snafu, wanting to see if they could do the same with their brand.
Oh, yeah.
And it is what it is. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm stoked on it. And I think Clay Goldsmith from Hyper is one of the most badass business dudes. He does not give a shit about being a cool guy, but he lives and breathes and works so hard to create his Hyper brand of products, and investing in me, Matt Bischoff, and my vision and my dreams. And I give him mad props. And so, yeah, I would love to, like, I hate that failure just kind of went away,
Yeah.
but who knows? I mean, you never know, dude. I mean, crazy things have happened. I mean, I would never have predicted COVID-19 in 2020 happening. Like, but yeah, dude, I'm just a passionate guy that just loves BMX, and I really want to ride more in 2025. And that's kind of my one of my goals for this year.
Yeah. So, real quick to go back and wrap up the backyard thing, because I had a note I wanted to ask you of, like, we talked a lot about the making stuff happen side of things.
Yep.
And you talked about the whole story of how it happened and how you made it happen. Well, for everybody else out there who's watching that and like is watching, it's like, man, all right, now how do I do something like that? How do we get more stuff like that in BMX? Obviously, we could take the easy route and just say, well, if you have an idea, figure out how to make it happen and just do it. But like, how do we take those steps?
Well, for one, I'm real passionate about creating a scene.
Yep.
So like, if you're listening to this and you're a rider and you're like, dude, my town sucks. There's no scene. You can go to a township trustee meeting and pitch the idea of a skate park to your community, right? You can go in the woods and try to build some trails or ramps. It's not just going to come in your lap, but there are ways to do it. Talk to people, network. It's all about network. I don't care what anyone says about college degrees or this or that. My entire life has been networking. It's who you know and creating relationships and not being afraid to ask. If I was afraid to ask the Red Bull guy about my backyard build-off idea, it would have never happened.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, is this going to work? Like, and I was like, hell, the worst someone can say is no. Like when I got on Survivor, dude, 1 million people could say, dude, there's no way I can get on this reality TV show. Thousands of people apply for this show. Why are they going to pick me? Or you have the attitude of, motherfucker, I am a badass. You're putting me on this show, dude. It's confidence and going for it and making things happen out of nothing. So if you live in a community, like I said, go to the local township trustees meeting. Talk to the mayor. Is there a skate park? Was there ever a skate park? What happened to it? Try to say, look, I mean, like, I haven't really tried to push a skate park in my community where I live, but if I did, I would say, look, I had ramps and trails in my backyard forever. And those kids that rode my backyard, it impacted and changed their life in a positive way. They were not out doing drugs and causing mayhem and doing stupid stuff. They were riding their bikes, having a good time. They were respectful. This community needs something to get the teenagers off their stupid TikToks and off their asses. And there are other things to do besides ball sports. Football, soccer, all that stuff plays a part and it's cool. Like if you want to play those sports, fine. But there's other people that's not what they want to do. They're not a jock. They want something that's more rock and roll, artistic, accepting of if I have tattoos or long hair or whatever. BMX and skateboarding and snowboarding, all these things like thrive on that stuff. So talk to just people in your community, talk to the schools. Hey, principal at the school, like if I was a young bike rider, I would contact the school and be like, can I start like a BMX club? There's a park called Mike's Bike Park, and I would love to see if the school would let me start a, you know, Milford High School BMX club, and we can go and ride the skate park once a week, right? And then maybe we volunteer at Mike's Bike Park to like clean up trash or something like that in order to get free admission for people that might not be able to afford to pay for it, etc. There's ways to go about doing stuff. You just have to be motivated enough and take the first step and not be afraid of someone telling you no. There's been plenty of times that I've pitched ideas to people that have said, no, that can't work. But there's also been, I would say, the majority of the time when I've pitched ideas, they happen.
Yeah.
And, some people are like, dude, I have these friends of mine. They're like, dude, it's the Bischoff effect, dude. Everything you do. I was like, no, dude, it's not anything to do with me. It's just, I'm not afraid to ask, hey, would you like to build a skate park in our community? You just got to be proactive.
Yeah.
Proactive, network, meet the correct people, talk to your community leaders, talk to the school people, talk to your school and say, hey, I saw on Instagram, Vic Murphy and the Stunt Dudes do these bike demos. Is there any way that like our school could have a BMX demo? And the next thing you know, Catfish and Zach Newman and people are at your school doing stunt shows, because the bike shows and the bike demos motivate people, I think, to want to ride that might not have ever seen BMX in real life.
Yep.
I think bike shops back in the day, like late 80s kind of stuff, that would have the Haro team come.
Mm-hmm.
Bring a quarter pipe and some kick turn or a box jump ramp. And it's like, wow, this is cool. Like some people have never seen, like my 18-year-old son, dude, who he was too young to really realize when I was in my BMX prime. But when he's at Ray's, he's seeing some people do some stuff. He's like, holy shit, that guy just did a blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, dude, like that's what your dad used to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some kids don't ever see that in person. It's motivating. And, I don't know. We need to get more kids on bikes. And I think like pump tracks and public parks are a good start to that. You know what I mean? But, yeah, my theory is if you can dream it, you can make things happen.
Essentially, it sounds like what you're saying is to not wait on anyone or anything to try and make these ideas happen. You just have to go for it and figure out how to make it happen. And if one avenue doesn't work, you find another one.
100%. It's as simple as that, dude. It's not rocket science, right? But you have to have a specific type of personality, and not everyone, like you're doing a podcast, Ryan Fudger's doing a podcast. I mean, Glenn P.P. Milligan or whatever used to do the big BMX show that I was been on that before. That was ahead of its time. That was awesome.
Yep.
It takes a special person like you to be motivated enough on a Monday night to talk to a guy like me and put this content out there, because it's not easy. All the stuff we've discussed wasn't just like, oh, this is easy. It takes work and effort. And when you have trails and ramps and you're digging all the time and barely riding and no one's helping you and you're spending all this money on plywood and stuff, but with hard work, there is a reward. And I'm sure you feel very rewarded, dude, by the content that you put out, because there is no bike, there is no Vital BMX. There is no BMX Online. I don't know if the come ups there. I know Adam 22 is a porn star now and does his own stuff, but like 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 you're doing what needs to be done in BMX. And I've even thought like, because been doing a podcast on Survivor for years, and like I love music and BMX far more than I love Survivor and reality TV. Like the Survivor part of my life was awesome. It rules. I have shitloads of fans. It was so killer. But my core passion is BMX and music. So like the shit that you're doing, like I love interviewing people and hearing people's stories. Cause everyone has a story, dude. And I feel that if you interviewed all BMXers, just like if I was to interview all reality TV contestants, they would all have a common theme, you know what I mean? And a common bond. And BMX needs stuff like this. Podcasts, getting insights on how brands actually work. Like knowing that like, dude, Chris Moeller, you know, Ron Bonner, those dudes are doing this stuff at this point because they love to do it. Those dudes could retire and shut it all down. They've said it.
Yeah.
But they love it and they want to see it continue to grow, dude. And I don't know. I think BMX will never die. I just think there needs to be more people like you out there that are motivated to push out kind of alternative content to younger people.
And you don't have to have any kind of backing to do this stuff either. Like the thing that I want to get across about myself is I'm totally independent in what I'm doing. I don't have like, yeah, I have people who support me as a rider and I have people that send me parts and stuff to make videos about, but I don't have advertisers. I don't wait on someone to say, hey, I want to sponsor a video to do a concept. If I have an idea and I want to do something, I just go and do it. I don't need someone to pay me for it to end up on YouTube. And I think that what it boils down to is there's so many people who make excuses or wait on something. Well, I gotta wait on this. I gotta wait on that. I gotta do it with this person. I gotta do it with that person, or I need backing. Any excuse like that. And you can't. You have to just do it. And when it comes to what I do, like I'm saying, I'm not paid by anybody to talk about anything. And so that's why I'm able to jump on here and I can talk to you with my open feelings about BMX. And at the core of it, like you're saying with Moeller and Bonner, is they're doing it because they love it. That's exactly why I'm doing it. I don't have that paycheck every month that I'm getting from advertisers. I'm just trying to help BMX. And sometimes it sucks when people want to shit on me for that, but I'm never going to stop doing it.
Yeah, that's the other thing, dude, is the hate. A lot of hate and like people shitting on you comes from jealousy, which I think is crazy. Like there's a lot of shit talkers out there and you just can't let it bother you. So that's my other thing to other riders. It's like, no matter what level you're at as a rider, like keep riding because you love it and that you're learning tricks or something like that at your own pace. And like I said, I'm just as excited if I was at Woodward Camp right now, for example, and I saw some beginner kid do a dog piss 1 footer over a box jump.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted to learn. I want to learn a 1 footer, dude. And he does it and he lands and he's so pumped. I'm just as excited to see that kid as I am Jamie Bestwick doing
poetry in the air.
Exactly. So like, just be who you are, express yourself through your bike riding. There's street riders, Craig Grosso and different people, and Dave Volker, old school people like, or even like we talked about Lou Bickle, like making something for himself out of BMX, of being this character. Be a character, be yourself. Don't feel like you have to conform. Don't feel cheesy if you do things a little bit differently. I think some people are like, oh, I got to have, or back in the day, it was like, I got to have an all black bike and no stickers, or I have to have a raw frame or this. Back in the day, people had like pink frames or, like just different ways of expressing themselves. It's okay to be different, dude. It's okay to express yourself. And just because you're doing something like a podcast or put out a video or do a company, like it doesn't mean that like you're in it for the money or whatever. People need to realize, dude, like there comes a time like when you're doing this podcast, I wish you had advertisers. You know why? Because if you had advertisers, your podcast would get better. You wouldn't have a stupid fake dandelion grass field in your backyard.
No one else sees that. Only you see that.
Only see that. Okay, good.
Yeah, but that's funny.
But so what I'm saying, dude, is like you'll be more motivated to put out content and do cool events and maybe make t-shirts and merch for your podcast and grow it. There's nothing wrong with trying to make a little money doing something that you love and putting out content. There is nothing wrong with that. If you're so punk rock that you're a sellout for getting an advertiser on a podcast, then that person is the problem, dude.
Yeah.
It's irritating because you see these keyboard warriors of why would anyone, for me, like I haven't watched all your podcast interviews that you've done with people. I've watched several. But like to think that anyone would like talk shit because like you're having conversations with company owners and riders and people about BMX and trying to figure out ways from like having someone like me on and hearing my perspective, having someone like Dennis Anderson or Garrett Reynolds or Chris Moeller or Trey Jones. Everyone's got different ideas and things like that. And I don't know, man. I think we're all in this together of the thing we all love. Like the one common thread is we have fun riding little kids' bikes. I mean, how old are you, Brant?
31.
You're 31. So I'm 50. And I am just as stoked about talking about BMX now with you as I was when I was a teenager, dude. And it'll never leave me. It's always going to be there. And I don't know. I just try to be inspiring to others, dude. And because I just want BMX to grow like you do, like everyone else does.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So this is a bit of a hard transition, but you talked about Survivor there for a minute. I feel like I can't do a podcast without Matt Bischoff without talking about Survivor. And
sure,
you kind of did it already, but one of my buddies has been trying to get on Survivor for years. And he's like, oh, ask him what do I need to do to get on Survivor? Like, so what would your advice to someone who's been trying to get on the show for years be?
Okay, so I will say, like, whether it's Survivor or Amazing Race, any reality competition show, right? There's a casting department that is looking for people. Reality TV is a huge like entity, right? Yeah. Reality and Survivor is like, to me, like top tier. Like I played Survivor, like that's like a pop culture phenomenon. Like it's like the king of reality shows.
Yep.
So what casting is looking for in these shows is they want good storytellers, okay? They want true, authentic people. It's all about the confessional. What the confessional is, if you're watching a reality TV show like Survivor, for example, and you're watching and you see like, let's say you see Matt Bischoff doing a challenge or whatever, and then after the challenge, you see this clip of me like sitting in a tree and I'm like, dude, today's challenge sucked. I got my ass beat and blah, 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 blah. Reality shows they're telling a story, and they're trying to tell a story of how this person got from day 1 to day 39 and won the game. You have to be a good storyteller. So when I applied, you have to be yourself. If you try to be all crazy and do some wacky video, and then they call you on the phone and you're not the person they saw on the video, they're not going to put you on the show. They're just going to immediately be like, dude, you're a poser.
Yeah.
So be yourself, be a storyteller, and you have to apply things in your real life, in your audition video, and how you're going to use that in the whatever show you're going to do. So when I applied for Survivor, for example, I think I was like 38 years old at the time when I made the video. I'm like, I'm Matt Bischoff. I'm 38 years old. Like, I'm a pro BMX bike rider. I work in BMX. I snowboard. I wakeboard. I was like, I'm going to fucking kill it in the challenges because like I can do all this shit. And then I showed video footage of me 316 down a 12 stair gap on my bike and grinding some rail on my snowboard and shit. And then I would say, at the end of the day, I'm a super sensitive guy. I'm a family guy, even though I look like this big burly bearded dude. You just have to be authentic, and you have to be a good storyteller. So if you make a video, and if anyone listening to this video podcast right now, if you are looking to get on a reality show and want to send me your audition tape or any questions, I will help you and give you advice because I've helped other people get on shows before.
Yeah.
By my advice. But yeah, you just have to be yourself and a good storyteller. If you're not a good storyteller, dude, then you're not going to get on the show because that's all it is. It's based on the confessionals, and they're always looking for. I was the token bearded tattooed guy, right?
Yeah.
So if you watch these shows, there's always like, okay, this is like the mom. This is like the gay New York City person. This is the Kentucky hillbilly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where do you fit yourself in that cast? You know what I mean? But yeah, dude, I applied in 2003, made a video. No one ever called me, and I did not apply again till 2011. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going downstairs. I'm filming a video, and I'm getting on this show. And I made a video, and the casting called me, and I went through this insane casting process, dude. And then I ended up getting on the show, and yeah, it's crazy. It's still a dream come true, dude. Like that I played Survivor. It was really, really, really cool. So
that is wild. So you get on to Survivor. I didn't, if I did watch it, I don't remember anymore.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So refresh my memory of how it went.
So my season aired in I filmed in 2012. I was in the Philippines. It aired on TV in 2013. I literally had to keep it a secret from everyone on the planet that I even went. So my alibi was because of BMX. People were like, where did Matt Bischoff vanish for 2 months for?
That's funny.
So I told everybody, hey, I'm going to visit factories over in China and Taiwan for my bike company is what my alibi was. That's where I was. I was visiting factories, doing my bike company stuff because I was heavily doing Failure Snafu at the time that I was on Survivor. And so yeah, it's gnarly, dude. It's but it's so cool. It's brought me such great friendships and great opportunity. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, really.
What kind of opportunity came from it?
Just my podcast. So I started podcasting about 6 years ago with this guy, Johnny Fairplay, infamous Survivor villain.
Oh,
He's been
everybody
on tons.
knows him.
Yeah, so Johnny Fairplay and I do a podcast. I've spoken at so many events, churches, scouting events, schools. Johnny and I threw out the first pitch at a Cincinnati Reds baseball game. From there, we met Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins that same day. Billy Corgan was like, holy shit, it's Johnny Fairplay. I want you guys to, I got full hookup to the Smashing Pumpkins concert. Like,
wow.
it's like being friends with Fair Play, dude, is like something crazy always occurs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've been really blessed with really cool opportunities because of Survivor and shit like that, and it tied into the BMX stuff too, man. I mean, sometimes I get recognized, like it was so cool when I'm at Ray's, I'm getting recognized like, "You're Matt from Failure. Holy shit. I grew up watching your videos and your brand." And like I get more excited when someone recognizes me from BMX days than I do TV shit, really, to be honest with you.
So, what's harder, Survivor or learning a trick that's just beating the crap out of you if you had to do that every single day for the amount of time that you were on Survivor?
I would say Survivor's one of the hardest things I've ever done, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and there's been time like with bike riding, I would try like I'm trying to think here. There's a picture somewhere, and there was this like concrete little quickcrete thing somebody made up to this concrete Jersey barrier thing. And it was a gnarly setup, and I was wanting to abubica this Jersey barrier, and I kept trying, and I kept slipping, dude. And when I slipped, my frame, it was a Failure Nate Wessel a Muerte signature frame, was smashing. Like my down tube is completely smashed. I still have that bike frame upstairs somewhere in my attic. But dude, I damn near destroyed my bike because it was such a hard abubica, and I finally pulled it, right? That was difficult.
Yeah.
Survivor is difficult in a way that you're stripped from everything, all your friends, anyone you know, my wife, my kids, anyone, my friends. I'm on an island in the middle of nowhere, Philippines, with no food, barely any water, playing a game for $1 million with a bunch of crazy people. So it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but one of the most cool, rewarding, badass things I've ever done too.
So, to what extent are they like making sure that you're not gonna die?
So here's the thing: there's film crews constantly filming you.
Oh, okay, so you're not just by yourself. You're gonna die in the woods. Like
No, and
somebody's
so
gonna.
yeah, so and before and after every challenge, like so, but when they take you by boat, let's say to a challenge, and when you're riding in these boats or vans, you're blindfolded, you don't know where you're going, and there's zero talking.
Mhm.
Then you go into like a tent, like a little easy up kind of tent thing before the challenge starts. And one at a time, you'll go into another tent where the survivor doctors will be like, "Hey, Matt, are you peeing okay? Are you pooping okay? Do you have any like abrasions or anything we need to look at?" And I'm like, I got this rash or whatever. And like, okay, they make sure you're healthy enough for a challenge. Then you
Yeah.
do the challenge. After the challenge, you go back to the doctor. "Hey, are you okay after the challenge?" So they're constantly monitoring you. However, you're in the jungle, dude, with like rats crawling on you when you're sleeping, and scorpions and black widow spiders and crazy shit. And things can go from bad to worse really quick. There's been Survivor seasons where people have to get medically evacuated because they're dehydrated, and if they're there for another day, they're screwed.
Right.
But tell you one little secret about Survivor. Off camera, there's a metal medical box with contact solution, bug spray, sunscreen, tampons. I don't know if I said contact solution, but minor things. So if a girl needs a tampon, they can use tampon. You can take your contacts out. You can put sunscreen and bug spray on, and there's a daily multivitamin like to take.
Yeah.
Besides that, they don't give you shit. But they're trying to help you so you don't get sunburn and shit like
Right.
that or whatever, right? So, and I've heard rumors of people smuggling shit into tampons, like Ambien sleeping pills
Oh
and
my gosh.
different things like that. But yeah, dude, it's a real deal. They're not giving you any kind of food. We would eat like one little cup of rice like once a day. I was starved. I dying. I was more thirsty than I was hungry, dude. But dude, it's gnarly. It's mentally and physically exhausting. But I felt as a BMXer, I feel like it helped me out because as a BMXer, sometimes you're in uncomfortable situations.
Yep.
Sleeping on a couch in someone's house or on a road trip, right? With a bunch of dirty bike riders. So that really BMX helped me in my game of Survivor. So yeah, it was killer, dude. We could do a whole podcast just on. Usually I'm doing a Survivor podcast, doing the interviewing. So it's like kind of nice to be on the opposite end of the deal on your podcast here.
Yeah, what are some of the things that you end up talking about Survivor with the people who were also on it?
Well, every season's different, dude. So like sometimes we'll interview like someone who won the show.
Yeah.
And we're just getting their journey, how they got on the show, what crazy stuff they encountered on the island, what certain challenges were like, et cetera. It's always, there's been so many different contestants. It's really cool hearing people's stories from their time on the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huh. That's pretty cool. I honestly haven't watched a ton of it. I remember watching some here and there, but I haven't followed it. This sounds crazy.
Yeah, dude. It was definitely killer. And on top of that, I've always been hand in hand with bike riding and old school videos. Music was always a huge part of my life, dude. Like listening to music. I worked at a record store when I was younger called Music Land. And then I've sang in many different bands and musical projects over the years. My band Moonbow is like one of my, I got
a moonbow.
Yeah.
Like a rainbow, but a moonbow?
You're exactly right.
I've seen one of those.
So this is one of our records.
Oh, that's
on vinyl.
Sick.
This came out in 2017 on a small little stoner rock label called Ripple Music. Again, make shit happen, people. This record label hit me up and wanted to put out our record. And so we put out we put out a total of 3 recordings, 2 on vinyl, 1 on CD. But music is just a massive part of my life, just as much as BMX. And I will say that some of my early encounters with Dennis McCoy and Eddie Roman and Matt Hoffman and Rick Thorne was really someone who was motivating to me when I was a senior in high school. My mom bought me a ticket to fly to Matt Hoffman's house for my senior gift. So I flew to Matt Hoffman's. This is 1992. And I'm there with Rick Thorne and Hoffman and Steve Swope. And that's when I told you I got to see Hoffman do that.
Yeah.
Get towed by the motorcycle, do that 26-foot air. I saw that shit before the public. Like I remember getting picked up at the airport in 1992 by Matt Hoffman. And we went to like a photo place to get back the photo proof of him blasting that quarter. That was a full page ad in a magazine. And I was there to see that shit firsthand.
Wow. As someone who had just graduated high school.
Just graduated high school. So I tell my son who went to Raise with me, dude, I was riding Matt Hoffman's indoor vert ramp that you saw in Agroman and Headfirst and all them bike videos. I have footage, dude, that I took of Hoffman trying 540 tail whips and all kinds of shit. So if you want to see some of that stuff, Keith Trainer, who used to ride for S&M, he used to do a little web thing called We Have Motive. It was a website called wehavemotive.com.
Yep.
If you go on YouTube and type in We Have Motive, Matt Bischoff, you can see like some like bike video.
I literally watched it earlier.
You did of me?
Yeah, I'm going to
cool.
I'll put it in the description for everybody.
Yeah, there's footage of Hoffman trying a 540 tail whip I filmed that I put in that We Have Motive video.
Yep. I watched it earlier because I was just trying to learn a little bit, figure out what I should ask about. And it's funny that was in there and then you bring it up.
Yeah, dude. But I just want to say this. We've talked touched on a lot of cool stuff. I just once again want to give props to a few people because without Vic Murphy from the Dirt Brothers, Magoo from Snafu, Bill Danishek, owner of DK Bicycles, Danishek, that's the D in DK, like or dads and kids or Danishek. Bill Danishek and Clay Goldsmith are humongous people that have really helped me get to where I am today. And then I want to shout out to Nate Wessel and Red Bull as well, because major, huge parts of the backyard build off. And Nate Wessel was a big part of failure, one of my very dear friends. And always the support of my wife, Tessa, who has always been there. We've been together for 27 years. So she's been to every skate park, every event, putting up with catfish at my house, and all kinds of people over the years. And she actually used to do a company called Rad Like Dad, which was like, she got all the BMX companies on board, and she made miniature baby and toddler clothes of all the BMX companies. That was my wife's brainchild that Nate Wessel kind of got involved with in that project as well. But yeah, just I owe a lot to those people, and it's such an honor that I'm being able to sit here and talk to you about this. I was really looking forward to doing this podcast because I have not really spoken about my BMX stories in a long time, because a lot of it gets overshadowed by my music and my reality TV things. And since I'm not actively riding all the time and I'm not doing a bike company at the moment, dude, there's many people out there that have no clue of all the shit that we just talked about tonight, you know?
Well,
so,
they do now.
Yeah, they do now. So yeah, good shit.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and it sounds like there's much, much more. So maybe after you come to Raise again and we get to ride together again, we'll do round 2.
Sure thing, dude. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, dude. Because like I said, make it happen. Create a scene and promote the people that support you, which I know you do. So for anyone like talking smack, it's just like, man, you got to realize that it takes effort. Everything just doesn't fall in your lap. You know what I mean? And we all do this because we love BMX. And I'll always love BMX, just like Lou Bickle loved BMX. And yeah, man, we lost the Fids, Lou Bickle. It's been a wild year, and I know people like are so caught up in like political stuff and crazy shit and conspiracy theories and just weird stuff going on in the world. So if you ever get stressed out or have anxiety about stuff, just go on YouTube and watch an old BMX video, watch a podcast that you do. You know, I think we need to escape reality sometimes. And that's what's the beautiful thing about BMX is being, whether it's being in the woods, riding trails, being at a BMX event or a skate park. It's an escape that we all need in today's world. So love you all. Keep riding, everyone, and BMX forever.
Yes. Real quick, where can anybody find any of the stuff you got going on online?
So you can follow me on Instagram at the Matt Bischoff, because Matt Bischoff was taken. And then I've done this Survivor podcast. I'm not sure what the future holds for this season for the pod, but the podcast is called Reality After Show. We cover Survivor and all kinds of different reality TV shows. But yeah, follow me on Instagram at the Matt Bischoff. My goal in 2025 is to ride more. And dude, I have so much unseen footage and photos and stuff I got hard drives, excuse me, everywhere with tons of stuff that I want to kind of get out to the public. So follow me, be looking for stuff, and you never know. Maybe I'll be making a comeback with Failure or some other project in the future. We shall see.
There it is. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.